All right, we're going to start improvise now. Should we just go whenever we're ready?
Yeah.
Nice rifle. That's a nice touch too. Oh, I've got my airsoft guns next to me.
This ain't airsoft.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah. That
Okay, we're recording for gpolit.com, global politics blog. We're here with Russell Bentley, who travelled to Ukraine in 2014 to help fight against fascism after the coup in which Poroshenko took power. You're up.
Thanks, man. My name is Russell Bentley. I'm from Texas in the United States. I'm a communist, and I've always been a politically aware person. When I saw what happened, what the United States has been doing, even before 9/11, what they did in Yugoslavia under Bill Clinton, then of course after 9/11, destroying Iraq, attacking Afghanistan, Libya, and, was a terrible, terrible crime. And then, now what they're doing in Syria and in Ukraine, it's beyond the pale, and I finally decided that I had to do more than just follow the news and hit like on a fake Facebook page. And so I decided I was going to come here to help the victims of this war that was started by a coup that was totally backed by the United States and the IMF. And I've been here almost 2 years now. I fought for 8 months at the front with the Sud Fremeni combat unit, and I now work with them in their human aid and war correspondence units.
Yeah. You used to be a member of the United States military before you left to fight in Ukraine.
Well, a long time ago, I was in the U.S. Army from 1981 to 1984 when I was a young kid. I never really would have thought about joining myself. My dad kind of bribed me into it. He said, if you go serve in the Army and show you have discipline and stuff, then I'll give you a job with my company and pay for your college and stuff when you got out. So I said, okay, signed up for 3 years. Well, it was kind of funny because while I was serving in the Army, my dad went broke, lost his company, and so it never.
I'm trying to keep a straight face. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I was a combat engineer, a demolition specialist in the U.S. Army. Got a lot of good training there that has come in handy here.
Great. Did they send you abroad anywhere? Did you see any battle zones, or is it?
I was 2 years in Germany, and that time it was before the fall of the Soviet Union, so Germany was East and West Germany. We spent a lot of time in the Hof corridor, guarding the East German border and the Czechoslovakian border. We had live rounds, we had live demolition, but we never had to do any shooting, fortunately.
All right, luckily, yeah. So back to Ukraine. To give the viewers who are watching this some background, we're going to assume that they don't know what's happening in Ukraine now. There was a coup in 2014 in which Russian-backed President Yanukovych was ousted, and in his place a very far-right nationalist government headed by a man called Poroshenko. And after the coup, tell us more about what happened with the paramilitaries that started to form on the Ukrainian side.
Well, actually, the paramilitaries were formed shortly after the Second World War ended. The CIA had a project called Operation Gladio, Gladio. You can look that up on the internet. There's plenty of information. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact, historical fact. And what they did was all over Western Europe, they put fascists, ex-Nazis. They gave them money, training, weapons, and told them to hide out. And if communist parties, even through democratic means, came to power in these countries, these Gladio guys were supposed to come up and do terrorism. They did, in fact, quite a bit, particularly in Greece and Italy, where the communist parties there had been the leaders in the fight against the German occupation and fascism. They did a lot of false flag terrorist acts even back in the late 1940s. And so they had the same thing here in Ukraine, Poland, big time. And these are guys that have been trained, indoctrinated, armed, and paid for generations, for more than 50 years, and they just came out from the gutter in the Maidan, and it was a violent coup. People were killed, and it was again a false flag. The right-wing fascist snipers were shooting the cops of the former government, as well as some of their own protesters, to say that the cops of the former government were killing protesters. But it's well proven that the shots, the snipers, were coming from the CIA headquarters in the Kiev hotel, and from where the right-wing fascists were operating from.
So the United States, they're no stranger to funding a third party to do their dirty work for them. So the Mujahideen in Afghanistan is a very famous example.
Sure, of course.
And
Donald Rumsfeld went there when he was Defense Secretary of Defense for Jimmy Carter back in the late 70s. There's pictures of him shaking bin Laden's hand. They brought weapons, money, trainers to raise the super hardcore Wahhabi jihadists to fight against the Soviet Union, who was actually in Afghanistan. Of course, in the West, they say, it was the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in the late 70s and 80s. Actually, it wasn't. The legitimate government, the democratically elected socialist government of Afghanistan, asked for help from the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union came, just like with Syria today. The legitimate government invites Soviets to come in and help put down these terrorist rebellions, and the United States, just as in Afghanistan and just as in Syria today, was arming these terrorists, training them, giving them Stinger missiles and such like that. And so it's just, it's the same game over and over again,
Mm-hmm. Getting back to modern day, though, we just mentioned how in 2014 the US-backed coup was successful, and the Ukrainian government was transformed into a far-right nationalist government with the aid of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, all kinds of very nasty paramilitary groups such as Azov Battalion and Right Sector, which modelled themselves off of old SS organisations during World War II.
Exactly.
And Right Sector itself, their flag and their political ideology is modelled off of the OUNB, which was a fascist organisation which worked together with Germany to sabotage the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's exactly right.
And I've seen your videos on the front line. You saw some of these Right Sector flags in the very distance when you were at the front line.
Not that distance, maybe 300-400 meters. And yes, Right Sectors, all these guys they're Nazi lovers. They literally say Heil Hitler. They admire Stefan Bandera.
Yeah, and Azov Battalion's logo, it's a mishmash of two Nazi SS symbols, the Black Sun and the Wolf's Angle.
That's
they,
right.
like you already said, some of them have name tags like Hitler and Mussolini, which they use as a joke and a call sign with each other. They hate Jews, they hate communists, they hate Russians. Yet whenever they're in an interview with a Western journalist, say, I don't know, the BBC, which they did meet Azov Battalion, they'll say, we're not Nazis, We hate Russians, Jews, communists, and we're wearing Nazi SS symbols, but we're not Nazis. And if that isn't a telltale sign that they're trying to model themselves and re-image themselves to look more favourable in the eyes of the United States, I don't know what is.
Well, I'm sure you've read 1984 by George Orwell, dude, and that's exactly the technique they use. Is the Nazi terrorists that have been put in power by the United States, the IMF, Germany, France, England, and Canada have also helped put these psychopaths in power. And they say that they're the good guys. Nazi murderers are the good guys, and the people who are defending their homes and families and the land that they've lived on for generations are supposedly the terrorists. It is, it's just like...
yeah, it's complete madness.
That's, this war is a very hot military war. People are killed here every day, soldiers and civilians. Where I live in the center of Donetsk City, it's less than 8 kilometers to Ukrainian army positions from here. We're within artillery range right here, and occasionally we do get shelled here.
So, on to part 2. The new topics are...
let's talk about the information war, the human aid efforts that are being done here, and about my unit, Sud Vremeny.
All right.
And Sud Vremeny is a communist movement. It was started in Russia. It's international. There are chapters in most Western European countries, and even in the United States we have members. And what Sud Vremeny is a communist organization that wants to bring back the Soviet Union, but we want to learn from the mistakes that were made in communism before. We want to improve those mistakes or solve those problems and make, truly a Soviet, as in collective union of countries that will help each other out, that will bring socialism to the world and to be a counterbalance to, capitalist fascism, imperialism, which since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1990, the imperialists, the capitalists, the fascists, they thought they had an open road to ruling the world from there. And they immediately, when the Soviet Union, when the Warsaw Pact dissolved, the West gave the Soviet Union a promise that NATO would never expand eastward. And unfortunately, that was a complete lie. And, you can see now by looking at a map how many countries that were formerly of the Warsaw Pact are now members of NATO, which is an enemy, a truly existential threat to the Russian Federation now. So there cannot be a unipolar world. A unipolar world is an empire of slavery for the whole world, and that's what we fight against. We have a military unit here, one of the best, most highly regarded military units in the entire Novo-Russian Army is the Sud Vremeny Combat Unit, of which I was a soldier for 8 months. We also have an excellent information center that puts out videos quite frequently. They have a magazine, a newspaper, make videos, write articles. They have a website or a Facebook page. It's called Latest News from Donbass and the Middle East. It's on Facebook, and they post there daily. We have several YouTube channels. We have the Sud Vremeny channel on YouTube, which is in Russian, and then we have EOT Deutschland, which is our German comrades, and they put out videos in English and German and other Western languages. So if you want to find out what's really going on in Donbass and in Russia, those are excellent resources right there for honest, up-to-date, accurate information. I've been working with the Sud Vremeny Information Center for over a year now. We've probably made well over 100 videos together, everything from humanitarian aid to firefights at the front. And, the Vineyard of the Saker website, which is also a good site for information about what's happening in the Middle East and in Nova Russia. The guy that runs that site, he once said that the worldwide war against fascism against imperialism is 80% information, 15% economic, and only 5% military. And I agree with that estimate. And what we're trying to do is prevent those fractions from being transformed to 80% military and 5% information. So we do a lot of humanitarian aid work here. I mean, we've brought in, hundreds of tons of humanitarian aid into Donbass, not just from Russia, but from around the world. Books for kids in school, clothing, food, different stuff that makes life here more tolerable for the civilians and the innocent victims of this war that was started by the West. I do fundraising. Like I said, I don't get paid by anybody for the work that I do here. We're volunteers. I have a website, russelltexasbentley.com. There's a page there. You can donate through Western Union or PayPal, stuff like that. If you want to help support our continued journalistic work here, our information warfare work, or to support the humanitarian aid missions that we do. We support several orphanages here in Donbass. We have wounded comrades who have been very badly wounded. We help them and their families while they recover. In the little town of Nikishino that was occupied by the Ukrainian army, and we kicked them out. Very heavy battles there. There's about 400 houses in that town. I mean, literally every single house in that town has some degree of damage. Maybe 25% of them are completely destroyed. We work with a group called the Patriotic Forces of Donbass that are down there right now, repairing roofs, repairing windows, repairing walls, and we're actually rebuilding 2 houses for single mother families that were completely destroyed, and we've rebuilt them from the ground up. They're just nearing completion now. We got some videos on the EOT Deutschland channel. I also have a channel on YouTube, Russell Bentley, and you can see a lot of the kind of work we're doing there. You can see videos about it there. You can just Google my name, Russell Texas Bentley. All kinds of stuff will come up. Some of it's not very complimentary. There's a very strong effort by the fascist information warfare units to discredit what's being done here, to discredit me, other correspondents that are working here. And I mean, it's as hard of a fight, if not quite as dangerous as the military war. And it takes dedication and hard work just the same as being a soldier at the front does. Excellent, dude, excellent, because I'm really impressed with your work. I only just saw it like a day or two ago for the first time. And because I don't really surf the net all that much myself, but I was doing some research about for information about fascists in Ukraine, and I came across that one you did where you mentioned me at the end, and I'm like, gee, and I didn't even realize, that I didn't realize or that we were friends on Facebook. Because, dude, I have so many things going on all at once, all the time.
That's fine. I mention you all the time to people who are talking about Ukraine.